Hey, welcome to the Overshare Pamphlet. My name is Rob and I'm the host of this one-man show. Welcome back to the podcast. This is coming to you every Monday, by the way, at 6 a.m. So tune in whenever you want, though. That's available on all platforms, so whatever. You can just search for it and you'll find it everywhere, I think, even on YouTube. But yeah, so today is a very special, I guess, episode for me to record because I did not plan on necessarily making a review of this, but then I kept on thinking about this movie and I was like, you know what? I think I should just lay it out. There's so much I'm still thinking about, and I'm like, that's already a great sign that a movie is sticking with you. So, yes, today I will be talking about Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler, and that is going to be sort of like a spoiler. I'll try to keep it as spoiler free as I can, but I'm gonna have to mention some spoilers. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be very spoilery. So I would suggest maybe proceeding at your own peril, I guess. But if you plan on watching this movie, I would say maybe watch it first, or if you're not entirely sure and you want to have a little push, then go ahead and listen to this, and maybe I can convince you to sort of watch it for yourself and make your own opinion. But this is my review ish, or first thoughts, I guess. And I only watched it once, which was yesterday night, so I need to have a bit of a breather, I guess, if I really want to fully understand the movie, I guess. But I think it's also important that I just talk about what I really found very interesting about the movie and what I think it didn't really work or something. So just bear with me, I guess. And just don't have high expectation of me managing to decode the entire fucking movie, because it won't happen in this one, I think. But I think it's important to have a little conversation about this, because it's very, honestly, very culturally significant movie anyways, regardless of how it was executed or not. And how many quibbles I could have with the movie, it's still, I think, overall, the mere fact that I'm still thinking about it, it's still a very important period piece, and that's a period movie. So yeah, and also we need to support original movies, original stories. Everything these days is a reworking of IP that's already well established. I mean, Disney, Marvel, DC, video games, it's all stuff that is already sort of known. Well, this is original. And this is still in the horror genre, which is still to this day the most interesting genre in Hollywood at the moment, I would say, because I don't know, they keep on producing a lot of very interesting and varied, I guess, stories that are completely original. Some of them are inspired, of course, on our adaptations of real stories, but there are so many incredible horror movies that are coming out, and they're all pushing the envelope, I guess, for Hollywood in general, but also for the rest of the movie genres. So, and this is a great example, because this is this overall is a horror movie, I would say, but it's also a genre whiplash experience, I guess, because it's so many things at once. It's musical, it's a thriller as well, it's a period piece set in the 1930s. It's a historical, sort of also sometimes historical movie in that sense. Yeah, so very action based as well. It has everything all at once. So, and that's the strength and also sometimes the weakness of the movie, in my opinion, because sometimes I think it's the whiplash is so much that you're it's too it's too much on your plate, you're trying to do too much with all you have. But at the same time, sometimes it really works, I would say. Sometimes it's really interesting and very ingenious. So kudos to Ryan Coogler. Also, big fan of Ryan Coogler. If you don't know much about him, he directed the Creed movies and Black Panther movies as well. He made a name for himself, so he's an incredible creator and director, and a very fresh mind in Hollywood that is really very much welcomed. And I would say he, with this movie specifically, he reaches the heights of Jordan Peele type of political commentary horror movies and like sophistication, I guess, in that sense. So yes. But anyways, before we get to that, songs of the week. That's already a lot of background, I guess, on the movie. But let me get to the songs of the week. I have very few ones this week because not much has caught my attention, to be quite frank. But I have Baby Boy by Layla Blue. Don't know anything about her. The song is a like I would say R&B, sort of like jazzy at times type of track. Very cool stuff. Very interesting like rhythm and vocal production here. Like it's quite old timey in a way. At times, I guess. It feels dated, but it's not. And it's quite interesting, and it's not really like particularly like interesting lyric wise, but I think vibe wise and production, it's very 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 cool. So yeah, that's a slay. And I would say also in general, like if you like sort of like vibe music in that sense, like this is like very jazzy sometimes at time, like it can get very jazzy, I guess. So that could interest you. I think that could be like quite interesting to like just bop to, I guess. um but yeah, that's an interesting one that I found very captivating. And then also All I Do by Kate Paytavin. This one is more like on the singer songwriter side of it all, ballady, like power ballad, I guess. Very catchy chorus. I love the production. It's like quite you know yearning in a sense, like in the way it's produced, like quite I don't want to say necessarily fast paced, but it's definitely up tempo and like quite guitar led in that sense, and very very nice, like very singer songwritery type of vibe. Um, a la, I don't know, like maybe the Gracie Abrams, or maybe the um like yeah, I don't know. It reminds me a lot of like Gracie Abrams in that sense, um, or like Maisie Peters a bit as well. I would say maybe. So yeah, if that's the vibe that like floats your boat, then slay. Um, yeah, and also really like Coffee Shop by Flower of Love. Girl, I'm adding so many songs with the artists like in different playlists. By the way, you can find all these songs on the playlist of the month. You can just search on Spotify the Overture Pamphlet songs of the week dash whatever month we're in. So this time is like April 2025. So yeah. But yeah, I've added so many songs by this artist. Like there's another song in the playlist for this month, by her. But I've added a couple of other songs before, so that's incredible. Um, but yeah, I am gagged. Um, so this one is more um, like rhythmic, I guess. Like she dabs with a lot of like acoustic guitar ballads, like power ballads, also singer songwritery, or like Sabrina Carpenter ish, like short and sweet type of vibe. But this one is more on the R&B, I guess. So yeah, she is incredible. I'm literally so I think she's gonna be big. I really feel like she's really honing her work, and she has a lot of incredible melodic composition, I would say. So go and listen to Flower of Love. Period. Now let's get into the movie for real, for real. So what is this movie about? This movie is about, as I said, like it's set in the 1930s, and it's about these two twins, both played by Michael B. Jordan, who come back to their small hometown in Mississippi, and it's the town itself is like set like I think it's like placed on a delta, of like the Mississippi Delta, and they come back from Chicago, where they were previously working as mob leaders or like basically clandestine workers, and like they were using their experience as also military men to be a bit of like a gangster type of to run a gangster type of like business in that sense. So yeah, they come back to this Mississippi town just to specifically open a um a juke joint, which is like sort of like a nightclub, and I guess like you can really tell it's like inspired by the Chicago nightclub life in the 1930s, I guess. And so they opened this club juke, which is the name of the juke joint, um, in this sawmill. Like this is shack, like this huge sawmill, like this huge like sawmill that was used by the KKK, and they buy straight from them. Um, so yeah, the origin of the money of the money that they get is not entirely clear, but like it's established basically that it's done through illegal means. And of course the movie is set in 1930s, which is the height of segregation, and it's like straight after World War I, so you can imagine you know how tense the situation is. And so the setting is like, of course, the fields and like the cotton fields, and like segregation, and mostly the most interesting part about this whole movie is that you rarely see any white people, and all the white people here are marginalized, which is so interesting because it is sort of like a reflection of how society worked back then. Like the two worlds, like between the black communities and the white communities, did not merge ever. And I think most of the times you see, especially in history books and everything else, or like the perspective also in movies and everything, is that it's from the white people's perspective, and you see how like black people are marginalized. But here is like sort of like a reversed portrayal where like the white people are marginalized, not actively, like they are marginalized from the black community because the black community is marginalized, if it makes any sense. So they don't have much space in the movie, which is incredible. I think it's very fresh to see, and it has a bit of like a Western vibe as well. Like this movie has so many genres combined in one. Like it has that Western vibe to it, Western feel, and like it's one of the few Western movies that it's fully like led by a black ensemble of a cast ensemble. So I am so proud of that overall, but also in general, I think it gives a very fresh outlook on the movie. So that's incredible. So basically, yeah, these two twins like come back to their hometown in Mississippi, and they want to open this juke joint, and the first act of the movie, which I think is the slowest one and the one that like makes the movie suffer a bit, is a bit of a slower paced first act where like they sort of, I guess they sort of give like background to to all the characters, but I think it's like prolonged and like dragged on for too long. I don't think it was needed to like, the whole like length of it wasn't needed in that sense. It could have been edited quite a bit. But basically in the first act they go around, and it's the whole like premise of like them opening this juke joint. It's all, the whole movie like spans across one single day, because they come back, they buy this thing, this this sawmill, and they then go out and like separate themselves and like try and go and get their friends to either like cook for the club, or like play music and all that stuff. So yeah, the first act is simply them putting the group together, you know, hiring different people and all that stuff. And so yeah, and I would say like here's the part where you like are also shown the recreation of like the perfect like Mississippi 1930s vibe. Like it's so well produced and so well executed, which is very interesting to see. But again, I feel like the first act dragged on for a bit too long. It could have been shortened up a bit, and could have given maybe maybe a bit more background on like what they did in Chicago, for example. I would have loved to see what the twins did in Chicago, a bit more of that action, or like a bit more you know, context, I guess, because you only hear about it but you don't really see it, or you don't really have any actual concrete showcase of what they did in Chicago. But whatever, that's one of my small quibbles that I have with the movie. But basically then they, in the process of like gathering these people, both twins, which by the way they're named Smoke and Stack, I think. They yeah, Smoke and Stack. Um, they both reconnect with their ex lovers they left in Mississippi. So Smoke, wait, let me not get them right because they're the twins, but Smoke um, reconnects with his. Well, I think it was they were married or something with Annie, um, and basically they had a child, a daughter that they lost, and Annie is sort of like who was played by the way by Winmi Musaku. Um, Annie is sort of like this like matriarchal figure, I guess, or like very important female figure in the community, but like who also is an expert on dark the dark arts or like magic or something. I don't know. She doesn't perform magic, but she's like, into the occult and all that stuff, and not in like in a stereotypical way, but it's more like cultural way, if that makes any sense. And then Mary is Stack's ex-lover, who's played by the brilliant as well Haley Steinfeld, and Mary is an eighth black, if that makes any sense. Like her granddad is, or grandmother, I think, I can't remember who it was, but is half black, but she basically passes as white, and the whole drama between Mary and Stack is that Stack left her without any warning, and he didn't even go to her mom's funeral. So Mary's pissed as hell with him, and that's just their dynamic basically. Yeah. So yeah, opening night is again the same night. It's still the same day, but they are planning to do all this for the opening night, and they want to go super big to attract a lot of people. And their whole purpose is actually very like very nice. I would say like it's very like community focused in that sense. They want to open a club in Mississippi to, well, I guess still make money in that sense, but also to provide black people with a space where they could like enjoy themselves and like I guess distract themselves from the pains of their daily life, which is quite interesting to see. And how does the music fall into place in this whole shenanigan? Basically, music plays like a huge role here because like the blues and the country music that is played in the movie is just incredible. Like the pin of the entire movie is like the musical base basically. Their little cousin, I can't remember the name of the character himself, but he basically is a very talented blues singer and like guitar player, who is sort of like still trying to pursue his dream, but is of course pinned down by like, and he's like anchored by well, of course the social situation of the time, but also by his father and his family. And his father is a very religious man and tries to persuade him from like avoid associating himself with sinners, right? Who are his cousins. And he labels them as sinners because they've done a lot of like illegal things and a lot of dangerous things that don't align with morality and all that stuff. But the whole point of the movie is exactly this, that in a world that is completely unjust and is sort of built to segregate and to put down people of color, sometimes the only way to break free and pursue your dreams is to do some unholy acts in that sense, like be a sinner. And if the sin is the price to pay for freedom, then so be it. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of it. And the religious element here is like so well executed here, I think, because it's not necessarily like, I mean, there are of course church scenes and all that stuff, but it's not that specifically. It's more like faith based and like more religious as a concept overall. And music and religion go hand in hand because the musical aspects all evoke some sort of like transcendental and like all encompassing history basically, right? Like there are several scenes where like the music becomes like this sort of all connecting experience that captures the attention not only of the viewers but also of all the characters and like the people involved in the movie as well. And it's sort of like transcendental experience because, well, not simply because like it actually it makes people escape like from their everyday life, but also in general like it's a Brian Coogler basically conceptualizes it as an instrument that connects past, present, and future. And here's where also like the the supernatural element comes in, which you really like. What, like, how does the supernatural element come? Like, why? Where does it find its place here? But the whole point is that the supernatural element is sort of like metaphor, I guess, also as well. But basically, um, once like the whole point of the movie is that once the young cousin starts playing the music, he's so good at it and he's so immersed, he's so talented, and like so virtuous that his music attracts and like both like I said like past and present and future, but also um, you know supernatural elements in that sense, and he basically attracts vampires, right? So vampires are the main villain, I guess, of the movie. That like there's this Irish, I think he's a KKK member as well, who escapes. Ooh, sorry, who escapes from basically some Native American hunters, basically, and he starts turning like some people into vampires, and then eventually he's attracted to the joint juke the juke joint by the performance of this young cousin, and like he's so mesmerized by it that he wants to like take him with him and turn him into like a vampire as well. And so I think here I'm still struggling to understand like what's the like exact meaning behind like the vampires themselves. Like they're also supposed to be like sinners in some sort of way, but they are like mostly white people who like try to predate on black people in the movie itself. Like they first gather a lot of white people vampires and all this stuff, but then they start attacking the juke joint and start turning also black people into vampires. So I'm not entirely sure if there's any political like any commentary there specifically, but I think the point is that like the sad reality is that this young I think the actor is Miles Caton basically, but he is so good at this, but he is also told that he should not be doing this like by his father because he's sort of like straying away from the path that was given to him, which was like to just work and make a living out of that, and also the price he pays when he starts playing music is like he attracts other sinners, and like he's pulled from all these like different forces, I guess, in that sense, and which ultimately result in like the murder of like so many people because these vampires like kill almost everyone. So I think it's like maybe it's like a portrayal of like a metaphor of how like how difficult it was to fully pursue and be yourself and like pursue your artistic expression in a world that like is setting so many boundaries for you. Maybe that's the point, I guess. I don't know, but see, I'm not entirely sure, and that's why I'm like still scratching my head about the movie because I'm not sure if the message I got the message correctly or not. But I think that's sort of my interpretation of it, of what like I took away from the movie. But yeah, so the night goes on, everyone starts getting like attacked by these vampires. I'm not gonna say how the movie ends or anything, or like who gets turned or like who gets killed or whatever, but just know that there are so many twists and turns, and I think what really shines through the movie is sort of like this tension once they're all like locked into these and into this barn, into this like sawmill, um, because they cannot leave the place until the sunrise, and they are supposedly protected inside because like they shouldn't let they haven't invited the vampires in until a certain point, I guess. So that's really really cool as well. And yeah, so there's like, elements of community as well, like, they bond together and they try to, both escape their current reality but also fight these vampires off and all of that. So that's also very interesting as well. um One of my favorite scenes was like when in the bar and he's like, Miles Caton starts playing the instrument. Like he goes into this whole performance that attracts musical elements from all times, like even in the future, like hip hop and everything else, but also the past, like Aboriginal music and everything. So that scene was incredible. I think the strongest part of the movie are actually the musical scenes, I would say, but also the cinematography. Cinematography here is incredible, like just beautiful, shot on IMAX, and it just so good. Um, and it just really shines. Like it's a very visual feast in that sense. So really really enjoyed that as well. And yeah, there are so many twists and turns in the movie that you are sort of rewarded by, sitting through the first act, I guess. So um yeah, I would say if you can manage to, like, put through the first act, from the second act onwards, you get a lot of very interesting stuff and like a lot of very rewarding moments for the movie. So yeah, I think this is like a very successful movie as well. Like critically, it's very much acclaimed. I think they said like it's the second highest rated movie, original movie from this past decade. So, and it's doing incredibly well at the box office as well. I think it's already set to open at what, $45 million or something. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, and also very interesting choice to like have this movie come out on like Easter weekend and everything. So very very cool stuff. I really enjoyed it, I have to be honest. I think there are some elements that I'm like, maybe it's too much, too many genres combined in one. Sometimes it could be seen as a bit as like you lose the plot, I guess, sometimes, because there are some points where I was like, there's even a little scene where it's like a bit like military trench sort of like, or super action, scene where there's one person who takes out so many people in a shooting scene. Like he's alone and he manages to kill so many people. I'm like, how did that even like fit into this? I don't know. Like some scenes I'm like, maybe we didn't need that. I don't know. Personally, I thought it was a bit, too much at once. But overall, great experience. I think it's something that you should see at a movie because it's very cinematic as well, and it's very, 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 very good. So yeah, like just give it a go. Just give it a go. I think you will be extremely pleased. Period. But anyways, hope you enjoyed this. I hope you go and check it out, and I hope you have a great Easter. Slay. Bye.